We've all been there, right? That moment when the teacher randomly calls on you to answer a question. What did you do? Were you totally clueless, or did you sneak a glance at your desk buddy for help? Well, our girl Sanji was definitely caught off guard when she got called, but she totally lived up to her teacher's pet status. She rattled off the answer so smoothly that even the teacher was stunned. Sure, she got it right, but that didn't stop the teacher from getting annoyed. Just because you're good at school doesn't mean you can always rely on luck. Can you really guarantee a perfect score every single time? Sanji, who didn't quite get why the teacher was so mad, mumbled under her breath, "It's not luck though. I get a perfect score every time." Well, guess what? The teacher heard that loud and clear and got even angrier. The discipline in this class is a mess. And now you're talking back to me? Why don't you come up here and teach the class, then? Oh, forget it. Sanji, a little confused, asked, "But if I teach the class, won't you be out of a job?" That was enough to send the whole class into a fit of giggles, and the teacher's face turned a mix of embarrassment and frustration. Sanji realized she probably said something wrong, and sure enough, the teacher finally snapped, "Bring your parents in tomorrow. I need to have a serious talk with them." After school, Sanji dragged her feet home, totally bummed out. Great, another parent-teacher meeting. What did I even do wrong this time? Her friend Yinjinru came running up, teasing her. Seriously? How'd you get Mr. Baldy mad again? This is like the third time your mom's been called in this month. Sanji felt even worse. I just don't get why teachers keep calling parents for every little thing. Yinjinru laughed, totally carefree. Oh, come on, little Miss Sanji. How can you be so smart when it comes to school, but such a total disaster when it comes to everything else? Forget about it. Let's go to the bookstore. Fujin wants to meet up. Come on, let's go. But Sanji wasn't having it. No thanks, I'd rather save time and figure out how to handle this whole calling my mom situation. Yinjinru kept teasing her, "Fujin's pretty cute, and you're seriously going to pass on meeting up with him?" Sanji, rolling her eyes, brushed it off. Cute? Where? You need to get your eyes checked. Anyway, I'm not going. Yinjinru eyed her curiously, noticing that Sanji didn't seem too stressed about the whole "call your parents" thing. So, who's coming in this time? Your dad or your mom? Your mom's already been here twice this month. If she has to come again, you're seriously in trouble. With a smug grin, Sanji replied, "Neither. This time, my unreliable brother is finally going to be useful for something." Just then, her phone buzzed with a message from her brother. She excitedly opened it, hoping he'd come to the rescue, only to feel like the ground had opened up beneath her. His reply? "If you're there, I'm not coming." Her mood instantly plummeted. She regretted every time she'd argued with her brother. Is there a magic potion for regrets in this world? She thought miserably as she trudged home. At the doorstep, she took a deep breath and slowly opened the door, peeking inside to see if her mom was around. Unfortunately for her, right at that moment, her mom passed by with a tray of fruit. Their eyes met, and her mom smiled sweetly. "Gigi, you're home. I just cut up some fruit. Go wash your hands." Sanji, feeling like a thief caught in the act, jumped in surprise. Great. I'm so busted. Just as she was stressing over it, her mom called out, "Take this to your brother, he's in his room." Sanji's heart leaped at the news. Brother's back? Awesome. I'll take it to him. She grabbed the tray from her mom and rushed toward her brother's room, excited. Her mom chuckled, "He's just stopping by after playing basketball. He's heading back to school soon." Watching her daughter practically bouncing around, her mom thought, how strange. Since when did Gigi care so much about her brother? Sanji, now in full suck-up mode, happily swung open the door. "Brother! Brother! You're back!" But instead of her brother, she found a guy lounging on the couch, hair messily falling over his eyes, calmly smoking and scrolling on his phone. Sangji froze, staring dumbfounded at the guy on the couch. Their eyes met, and she suddenly felt a strange flutter in her chest, like her heart had been hit. Maybe it was just because of the smoke in the room, right? The guy stubbed out his cigarette, and Sangji couldn't help but wonder, has my brother seriously changed this much in a few months? Hesitantly, she called out, "Brother?" The guy gave her a playful grin, resting his chin on his hand, and hummed in response. Sangji felt like her brain short-circuited. Wait. Is this really my brother? Panic rushed over her, and she blurted out, "No wonder you've been avoiding home for months. I knew something was up. Did you seriously get plastic surgery?" Duan Jiashu, the guy, chuckled at her wild guess and felt like messing with her. With a teasing smile, he nodded. Sangji's jaw practically hit the floor. Wait, are you serious? How did you even convince mom and dad to let you do this? Or did you sneak off and do it behind their backs? Duan Jiashu leaned back on the couch, a grin still tugging at his lips. Come here, kid. Take a closer look. Tell me if your brother looks better now. Curiosity got the better of Sangji. She really wanted to know if it was true. If he did get surgery, there should be scars, right? But before she could take another step, it felt like the room got darker. Sangji's mind raced, and she realized, wait a minute. How could I mistake some random guy for my own brother? It's only been a few months, not years. Just then, her real brother, Sangyang, stepped out of the bathroom, dripping wet from his shower. Sangji whipped around, eyes wide in shock. Oh, that's definitely my brother's face. Sangyang met her gaze with a smirk. What? Did my good looks stun you speechless again? Sangji was already at her limit, and her brother's teasing just made it worse. Meanwhile, Duan Jiashu, the guy on the couch, was thoroughly entertained by the sibling chaos. When both siblings turned to look at him, Sangji, half embarrassed and half angry, pointed at the guy on the couch. Wait, if you're my brother, then who is he? Duan Jiashu kept playing along, pretending to be heartbroken. What? You don't recognize me now? You just called me your brother a minute ago. Sangyang, ever the snarky older brother, shook his head. Wow, sis, you really warmed up to him fast. That brother sounded real cozy. Sangji's face turned as red as a monkey's butt, and she was feeling all sorts of angry and embarrassed. How could I have mistaken this guy for my brother? I'm such an idiot. The more she thought about it, the more humiliated she felt. She just stood there, pouting in frustration. But then, Duan Jiashu made his move. He slowly stood up, walked over to her, and crouched down to her level. With a playful grin, he introduced himself, "Hey there, kiddo. I'm Duan Jiashu, your brother's friend and roommate." Sangji, still super embarrassed, turned her head away, giving him a small, awkward nod. Duan Jiashu couldn't help but tease Sangyang, "Hey, do I look like you or something?" Sangyang, busy playing on his phone, didn't even glance up. "Dude, maybe you should check yourself in the mirror first." Duan Jiashu scratched his head, confused. Wait, I don't look like him. Then why did this kid just? Before he could finish, Sangji panicked. She really didn't want him to spill the beans about her mix-up, so she reached out to stop him. But before she could even get close, Duan Jiashu blurted out, "She just asked me if I had plastic surgery." Sangji cringed and glanced at her brother, feeling totally guilty. Sangyang, now putting the pieces together, gave her a mock stern look. Seriously? What were you thinking? Do I really look like someone who'd get plastic surgery? And even if I did, why would I get uglier? Sangji, now totally fed up, shot back, "Well, plastic surgery isn't that big of a deal. Plus, how was I supposed to know you had a friend over? You didn't even mention it." Of course, there'd be some confusion. She was practically shouting by now. Sangyang, with a look of disbelief, shook his head. What kind of logic is that? Normal people wouldn't jump to that conclusion. This is just you being dumb. Sangji couldn't argue back. She just stood there, feeling both upset and humiliated, fists clenched tightly. As she tried to hold back her tears, her face turned bright red, and she started trembling. Sangyang and Duan Jiashu were still playfully teasing each other when they suddenly noticed Sangji's face twist in a way that could only mean one thing: trouble was brewing. And sure enough, before even 2 seconds passed, Sangji burst into loud, dramatic sobs. Her cries quickly reached the ears of their mom, who was watching TV in the living room. She rushed over, asking, "What happened? Why is Gigi crying like this?" Sangyang panicked, totally losing his cool. In a desperate move, he pointed at Duan Jiashu, accusing him, "Why are you bullying my sister?" Duan Jiashu, totally caught off guard, blinked in confusion. Meanwhile, Sangji clung to his arm, looking pitiful as she whined to their mom, "No, it's not him. It's brother. He hit me." Her sobbing got even louder, and their mom, fully embracing her role as protector, decided it was time to set things straight. She shot Sangyang a death glare. "You little brat, picking on your sister again? And in front of your friend, too? Come here." Sangyang tried to explain, pointing at the real troublemaker, but before he could get a word out, his mom dragged him out of the room. The door slammed shut, and the moment it did, Sangji dropped her act, her face breaking into a mischievous grin. Got him good, she thought, completely forgetting Duan Jiashu was still in the room. He smiled and asked, "So, why aren't you crying anymore?" Sangji, caught off guard, fumbled for words. Duan Jiashu chuckled, grabbed some tissues, and gently wiped away her remaining tears and snot. Feeling a little embarrassed now, Sangji was also realizing her plan had backfired big time. There was no way her brother would help her with school stuff after this. But then, a light bulb went off. Wait, if my brother won't help, there's always this other brother. She glanced at Duan Jiashu with a mischievous glint in her eye. He noticed her staring and asked, a little uneasy, what's up?" Sangji hesitated for a second before asking, "Big brother, could you help me with something tomorrow? Are you free?" Duan Jiashu, amused by the sudden request, teased her, "And what if I say I'm busy?" Sangji puffed out her cheeks and threatened, "Nope, you can't be busy. If you don't help me, I'll tell Mom you and my brother teamed up to bully me." Duan Jiashu sighed in defeat, "Kid, can we at least talk this out like reasonable people?" Sangji, unbothered, retorted, "Reasonable? Who cares about that? I'm still a kid, I don't have to be reasonable." Duan Jiashu, amused, asked, Okay, I'll help. But shouldn't you at least tell me what you need me to do first?" Feeling a bit shy, Sangji finally confessed, Could you pretend to be my brother tomorrow and meet my teacher?" Duan Jiashu smirked, "Oh, so you got called to a parent-teacher meeting, huh? But why not just ask your actual brother?" Sangji groaned, feeling cornered. "It's not like I can. First, he might say no, and second, after I just accused him of bullying me, if he finds out about this, he'll run straight to Mom and rat me out. Then I'm toast." Laughing at her predicament, Duan Jiashu said, "Give it a try. Your brother isn't that heartless." As soon as the words left his mouth, the door swung open with a loud bang. Standing in the doorway was Sangyang, glaring at Sangji like a tiger ready to pounce. Sangji shrank back, nervously swallowing hard, and quietly scooted out of the way. Right now, Sangyang looked like a terrifying tiger, while Duan Jiashu was the sly fox. Sangyang didn't bother arguing with his sister, just tossed his jacket at Duan Jiashu, and the two of them started to leave. As they did, Duan Jiashu called back, "See you later, kiddo." Sangji panicked. The plan wasn't set yet, how could they just leave like that? She grabbed Duan Jiashu's arm desperately, "Wait! It's already late, why don't you stay for dinner?" Duan Jiashu, amused by her persistence, turned back and chuckled, "Maybe next time." That answer didn't sit well with Sangji, who clung to his arm even tighter, thinking, is he getting old or something? How did he forget what we just talked about? Meanwhile, Sangyang watched this whole scene play out and couldn't help but think of a dramatic scene from My Fair Princesses, teasing, "Seriously, you two just met? Is this necessary? Duan Jiashu, my sister's only 12, stop being such a creep." Sangji yelled back, "I'm already 13, thank you very much." Du and Jiashu laughed. So, you're 13 now, huh? Are you in 7th or 8th grade? Which school do you go to? Sangji blushed, feeling a little shy. I'm in 7th grade at Rising Sun Middle School. My name's Sangji. Before she could say more, Sangyang cut in, teasing her. Sis, are you giving your life story or something? Du and Jiashu grinned, bent down, and playfully pinched Sangji's soft cheeks. All right, little Sangji, see you next time. Do you know when that will be? Sangji stared at the handsome older guy in front of her, a little dazed. Just then, Sangyang nudged him. Quit stalling, we gotta head back to school. It took a while for Sangji to snap out of it, but when she did, her face flushed red with embarrassment. She thought to herself, seriously? Why'd he pinch my cheeks on our first meeting? So rude. On the way back to school, Du and Jiashu explained to Sangyang that Sangji needed someone to go to her parent-teacher conference. Sangyang finally understood. Oh, no wonder she wanted you to stay for dinner. I knew there was something fishy going on. But I'm busy tomorrow, I'll just tell Mom. Du and Jiashu sighed. Even if you're busy, you'll have to make time. As they walked, Du and Jiashu couldn't help but chuckle, remembering how serious Sangji had been when introducing herself. She really did sound like she was filling out a census form. He laughed softly to himself. But he couldn't just lie to the kid, could he? The next day, as Sangji headed to school, she kept thinking about what had happened the day before. He agreed to help, right? So, he's definitely coming, right? He'd better. If not, I'll call him an old dog. Yeah, that's it, an old dog who doesn't keep promises. Suddenly, the bus made a sharp stop, and Sangji lost her balance, falling to the side. Luckily, someone grabbed her backpack just in time, saving her from a complete wipeout. She turned to see who her hero was and found herself face to face with a blushing boy wearing a headband. It was that guy, Fu Jingchu, the one everyone says is pretty cute. Sangji stood up straight and politely said, "Thank you." Fu Jingchu kept sneaking glances at her, and after a long while, finally worked up the courage to speak. "Yinjinru said you got called in for a parent-teacher meeting, huh? What a coincidence, I got called too." Sangji complained, "Why does she tell you everything?" Fu Jingchu looked a bit awkward. "Well, you weren't here yesterday, so I just casually asked. Don't get the wrong idea." Sangji looked up. "You got called in too? Why?" Fu Jingchu met her eyes briefly, then quickly looked away. "Oh, just something small. I wasn't paying attention in class." Sangji sighed. "Same here. It's just too easy, I can't focus." Fu Jingchu forced a smile. "Yeah, way too easy." Sangji was curious, "But aren't you, like, always at the bottom of the class? You think it's easy?" Fu Jingchu panicked inside but quickly turned his head and tried to keep it up. "Yeah, it's so easy, I don't even bother doing the homework." Sangji didn't think much of it, because honestly, there were plenty of times she didn't feel like doing her work either, but her parents wouldn't let her slack off. After a long silence, Fu Jingchu finally asked, "So, what rank did you get last time?" Sangji replied nonchalantly, "First." Fu Jingchu felt so embarrassed. How could he not realize her grades were a sensitive subject for him? He stayed stubborn though. "Next time, I'll totally get first place too, just for fun." That's when Sangji finally took a bit of interest in him. She glanced him up and down and said, "If you think you're gonna be first, let me give you a little heads up, as long as I'm around, that's not happening." Fu Jingchu's pride was crushed. Why did he even brag in the first place? He was doomed now. If you don't get your hopes up, you won't be disappointed, Sangji thought. She had no idea if that guy Du and Jiashu was coming to school today either. They hadn't exchanged contact info, and their conversation yesterday was left hanging. So for the rest of the day, whether it was during gym class, while playing basketball, or during art class where she picked a seat by the window, she kept glancing toward the school gate. And she waited all the way until 4:30. After the dismissal bell rang, everyone was noisily rushing out of the classroom, but Sangji stayed quietly by the window, waiting. One by one, her classmates left, and soon, the room was empty. She sat there in the silence, listening to the steady tick-tock of the clock. By the time it was already 5:30, Sangji knew she had been tricked. She was so mad, she shot up like a kitten with its fur standing on end. "Liar," she muttered angrily as she packed up her bag. "Liar. I'm never talking to that old fraud again." Slinging her backpack over her shoulder, she stormed out, but she only made it a few steps before she bumped into someone. Rubbing her sore forehead, she heard a warm, cheerful voice from above. "Hey, is this class 1 for 7th grade?" Sangji recognized the voice immediately. She quickly looked up and locked eyes with a handsome face. Her nose tingled, and tears of frustration were on the verge of spilling out. Duan Jiashu smiled mischievously. "Or, is the little one about to cry again?" He gently patted her head and teased, "Was your teacher that scary? Why are you so freaked out? It's okay, don't cry. I'll take the scolding for you." Sangji was still fuming, her cheeks puffed with anger. "You're so late. You let the teacher wait for you." Duan Jiashu just smiled at her adorable little outburst. "Okay, tell me then, what time should I have come?" Sangji huffed. "We got out at 4:30. You showed up at 5:30, you're a whole hour late." Duan Jiashu quickly apologized. "I didn't know you guys got out that early. I'm sorry." "Come on, can't you forgive me?" He even crouched down to say sorry sincerely. Sangji was still upset, but at least he was here now. She tugged nervously at his sleeve. "All right, let's go to the office, but when we get there, don't say much. The more you talk, the more mistakes you'll make, and if they find out, I'm totally doomed." Duan Jiashu chuckled, a playful grin on his face. "Wow, you make it sound so intense." Sangji thought he was scared, so she tried to reassure him, "Don't worry, be brave." Duan Jiashu couldn't hold back his laughter. This kid is so scared herself but still trying to act tough. "Don't worry, your big brother will be brave." Sangji carefully opened the office door. Next to her tiny figure stood the tall boy, and the homeroom teacher, noticing them, adjusted their glasses and spoke in a calm tone. "You just got here now?" Sangji kept her head down, too nervous to make eye contact with the homeroom teacher. This is my brother," she mumbled. Duan Jiashu, on the other hand, looked totally at ease. "Hello, teacher. I'm Sangji's brother." Sangji nodded so hard it felt like she was trying too hard to act natural. The homeroom teacher smiled, noticing how polite he was, and spoke kindly. "Nice to meet you. I'm Sangji's teacher. Thanks for taking the time to come in today." Another teacher from a nearby class joked with him, "Is this the same girl calling her parents in again? How many times has it been this month?" Annoyed, Sangji's teacher shot back, "You've got some nerve. Look at that boy in your class, Fuzheng." Fuzheng's already exchanging shy glances with her. He quickly turned his head away, embarrassed. Sangji was startled, having no clue what was going on. Duan Jiashu caught the boy's reaction, glanced at Sangji, and seemed to put two and two together. While the teacher stepped out to print some papers, Duan Jiashu sat down and stared at Sangji, making her feel uneasy. "Why are you staring at me?" she asked. He motioned her closer with a finger and teased, "So, little miss, are you already in a secret relationship?" Sangji's face turned bright red. "What? No way. You're the one who's dating early, not me." Duan Jiashu chuckled. "Oh, I would, but I'm too old for that kind of thing now." Sangji stared at him, a little dazed by his smile, before snapping out of it. "Yeah, right. You're too old for that. I mean, you're practically ancient. There's no way you could be dating this early, right?" Duan Jiashu pretended to be hurt. "Ancient? I'm only a college student. How does that make me old?" But to a 13-year-old like Sangji, he really did seem older, so he couldn't argue back. Trying to save face, he forced a smile. "Old? Really? Then why do you call me big brother instead of uncle, huh?" Without missing a beat, Sangji grinned and called him uncle anyway, and Duan Jiashu was left feeling even more defeated. In the middle of their playful bickering, a soft voice floated in from the door. "Excuse me, is Fujing's homeroom teacher in this office?" The homeroom teacher from the neighboring class stepped forward. "Yes, you must be Fujing's sister." Fujing complained, "Sis, why are you just now getting here?" His sister apologized awkwardly, "Sorry, I'm late." From the moment she walked in, she had noticed Du and Jiaxu. His expression was indifferent, but he always had this carefree, almost flippant attitude. His mesmerizing almond-shaped eyes gave him the look of a mischievous fox who'd been around for centuries. Du and Jiaxu, clearly bored, asked Sangji, "So, when's your teacher coming back?" Sangji shook her head, "I don't know, but probably soon." Du and Jiaxu sighed, "Your big bro's getting kinda bored here. Say something nice for he to listen to." Annoyed, Sangji shot back, "You're seriously so lame. What should I even say?" He loved teasing her, and with a lazy smile, resting his chin on his hand, he said, "Tell your big bro how handsome he is. Like, super handsome. The most handsome guy in the world." Sangji huffed and turned away. "Yeah, right. I'm not a parrot." Du and Jiaxu laughed, "No, you just gotta give your brother some compliments to keep him entertained while we wait." Sangji, feeling stubborn, replied, "I'm not that childish." He chuckled, "Wow, you're really stingy with compliments, huh?" When the homeroom teacher finally came back, they saw Sangji making faces at her brother and couldn't help but think how close these two siblings were. As soon as the teacher returned, Du and Jiaxu straightened up and greeted him politely. Meanwhile, Sangji, feeling nervous and awkward, decided to grab some water to escape the tension. While she was filling up her cup, she overheard Fujing's homeroom teacher say, "Fujing's grades may be a little low, but he's got great character." His sister looked puzzled. "Then why did you call me in this time?" The homeroom teacher explained, "It's actually kind of strange. Yesterday, he suddenly burst into the office, yelling that he needed to call his parents, even though he hadn't done anything wrong." Fujing was breaking out in cold sweat at this point. The office was small, and Sangji had probably overheard everything. This was bad. He nervously glanced toward the water cooler and, sure enough, was met with Sangji's disapproving glare. She couldn't figure out what was going on in Fujing's head. Like, seriously, what was he even thinking? There had to be something wrong with him. The Sangji homeroom teacher spoke seriously, "This girl is the most difficult student I've ever taught. Sure, her grades are great, but her arrogance is really becoming a problem." Du and Jiaxu, trying to clarify, asked, "Really? That bad?" Sangji hung her head, unsure how to explain. She knew she'd messed up but couldn't figure out exactly what she did wrong. The teacher sighed and said, "All right, don't be too hard on her. She's a smart kid. With the right guidance, she can definitely get into a top school." Du and Jiaxu placed his hand on Sangji's head, gently nudging her to bow to the teacher. Smiling, he said, "Don't worry, I'll make sure she gets back on track." With that, the two of them got ready to leave. As soon as they stepped out of the office, Sangji let out a big sigh of relief. "Thanks, big bro." Du and Jiaxu raised an eyebrow and asked, "Just heading home now?" Sangji looked confused. "Where else would I go?" She glanced up and saw Du and Jiaxu smirking mischievously. "I just promised your teacher that I'd keep a close eye on you, remember?" Sangji groaned, "No way. You're not actually going to nag me, right? My real brother would never do that." Du and Jiaxu, doubting her, teased, "Oh, really? Should I call your brother and ask him?" Sangji panicked and quickly tried to stop him. "No. If you call him, the whole story will get out. And if he finds out, then literally everyone will know." She lunged to grab his phone, but, of course, he was way taller than her. He effortlessly held her back with a hand on her head, joking, "How can I not call? I need to find out if you tricked your brother into coming all this way." Poor guy, getting played like that. As they were goofing around, a girl walked up and interrupted. She had a crush on Du and Jiaxu the moment she saw him. The girl, clearly nervous but determined, said, "Can I get your number? I promise I won't bother you too much." Du and Jiaxu calmly put his phone away and replied, "Sorry, I don't have a phone." Sangji was totally shocked. Is he really rejecting her with such a lame excuse? And if he doesn't have a phone, what are we just fighting over? She thought to herself, what a liar. Both of them stayed silent, and Sangji couldn't take it anymore. She finally spoke up, "Big bro, even if you don't have a phone, you could at least give her the house number." She then turned to the girl and teased, "You know, he did say he was going to date 30 girls this month. It looks like he's only at 29 so far. Maybe you could be the lucky 30th. Du and Jiashu gave her a look, while the girl slowly pulled back her hand, clearly embarrassed. Sangji just smiled sweetly, as if she hadn't said anything wrong. Realizing she was helping him out, Du and Jiashu affectionately patted her on the head and sighed, "You really have no filter, do you? Now you've scared her off." He chuckled and added, "But since you seem to like her so much, maybe I'll give it a shot." He held out his hand for the girl's phone and said, "Okay, let's try it. I'll give you my house number." But the girl quickly took 2 steps back, then bolted away, shouting, "Player." Du and Jiashu turned to Sangji and joked, "Well, what now? Looks like I won't hit my 30 girlfriend quota this month. How about you step in and help your big bro?" Sangji was already panicking, but after hearing that, she completely freaked out and tried to make a run for it. Just as she was about to take off, Du and Jiashu grabbed her by the collar, bringing her to an abrupt stop. Holding her like a runaway bunny, he teased, "Why are you running? It's not like I'm going to eat you." Sangji awkwardly tried to explain, "It's getting late. My mom's calling me home for dinner." Du and Jiashu, unfazed, replied, "All right, I'll walk you home." Sangji, still trying to wriggle out of it, said, "No need. The bus stop is right at the school gate, and it's getting dark. You should hurry back to school before it gets too late." But there was no way she was getting away from this sly fox. Du and Jiashu smirked, "Since when were you so concerned about me?" Sangji sighed, "I was just joking. Besides, I was helping you out. Why won't you let me go?" Confused, Du and Jiashu asked, "Helping me? You're the one who needs help. When that girl asked for my contact info, I was going to turn her down, wasn't I? So technically, you should be thanking me for saving you from being rude." He chuckled at her serious little face. "And what if I actually liked her, huh? You might have just ruined my shot." Sangji puffed up, "You're here to help me, not to find a girlfriend. Why should I care?" Du and Jiashu teased, "Oh, so you do remember I'm just pretending to be your brother. But remember, focus on your studies and don't get into any relationships too early. At your age, you should be making friends, not dating." Sangji, getting all huffy, shot back, "I'm not even thinking about dating." Du and Jiashu, now serious, warned, "Well, I'm already pretending to be your brother. If I get called in for a parent-teacher meeting, the truth might come out. Then I won't be able to explain things to your real brother, so you'd better behave." Sangji, puzzled, insisted, "Why don't you just handle the parent-teacher meetings from now on?" Du and Jiashu's smile faded, and his face turned serious. Seeing that, Sangji nodded obediently, "All right, I get it. I'll be good. I won't get in trouble anymore." Hearing her promise, Du and Jiashu's smile returned, his lips curling into a soft grin as he gently ruffled her hair. Sangji's cheeks flushed with a warm, tingling feeling. Du and Jiashu handed Sangji her backpack once they got to the bottom of her building. "All right, you're home. Head on up, and don't forget what you promised your big bro." Sangji, being the obedient one, sprinted to the entrance, waving as she called out, "Bye-bye, big bro." Du and Jiashu smiled, a warmth like sunlight spreading across his face, then turned and walked away. Sangji rushed up the stairs, trying to calm her racing heart. She had no idea when they'd see each other again. Suddenly, a thought popped into her head, and she ran to the balcony. Peeking out through the window, she checked to see if he had left, and bingo! He hadn't. There he was, talking on his phone, when he seemed to sense something. His eyes shifted towards the spot where she was watching him. Sangji froze, her face flushing bright red. Panicking that her little secret was about to be exposed, she ducked out of sight, hugging her backpack and burying her face in it. She could hear her own heartbeat, pounding louder and faster. Little Sangji didn't really understand what this feeling was, but it was like something sweet and fluttery was starting to grow inside her, a feeling so new, so special. It had turned into a secret she couldn't tell anyone. And slowly, that secret began to take on a name. When the weekend rolled around, her parents went on a date, leaving Sangji alone at home. Feeling a bit hungry, she rummaged through the kitchen and found some freshly washed strawberries in the fridge. Score. Life was pretty great, watching cartoons while munching on strawberries. What a clever little troublemaker, right? Her mom called to let her know they'd be back later than expected and told Sangji to start cooking some rice. But the cartoons were getting so good that Sangji just lazily answered back. Then, hearing some noise at the door, she sat up and glanced over. It was her brother, Sang Yang, coming home. The two exchanged their usual annoyed looks. Yep, classic sibling rivalry. It's just how they rolled. In a bossy tone, Sangji told him, "Mom said you need to cook the rice. Don't let me starve." Sang Yang, totally unimpressed, shot back, "Nice try. I didn't tell Mom I'd be back early. No way she told me to cook. Nice little trick, though." Sangji didn't care who was in the wrong, no matter what, her parents always took her side. Casually munching on her strawberries, she said, "Mom definitely told you. If you don't believe me, go ask her yourself." Sang Yang knew it was pointless to argue, so he grabbed the whole bowl of strawberries and started eating them himself. Furious, Sangji yelled, "You're so grown up, and you're still stealing my stuff." Sang Yang, unbothered, replied, "What, did you buy these? Do they have your name on them?" Sangji tried to snatch the strawberries back, but her brother was too tall. No matter how much she jumped, she couldn't reach them. The siblings kept bickering, and Sang Yang stuffed more strawberries into his mouth, declaring, "Doesn't matter. If it's in my hand, it's mine." Sangji, frustrated, tried again to get them back. Just then, Sang Yang felt his phone buzz in his pocket. As he got distracted and pulled it out, Sangji took her chance to grab the bowl and ran off triumphantly. Sang Yang just rolled his eyes at her. "Hey, little kids. Who even cares about strawberries?" He answered his roommate's call, complaining, "Seriously? You forgot your key again? I'm already home." Xianfei went back for the Dragon Boat Festival, too. Try asking Du and Jiaxu, he's not going home. At the mention of Du and Jiaxu, Sangji's hand shook, and she almost dropped the strawberries. Sang Yang noticed the noise and teased her, "What's got you so worked up? Did Grey Wolf finally catch Pleasant Goat after all these episodes?" Sangji, annoyed, snapped back, "I'm not that childish. I stopped watching that ages ago." She crouched down to pick up the fallen strawberries, but her mind was stuck on the words, "He's not going home." Her mood sank. Was Du and Jiaxu not going home because he was spending the holiday with a girlfriend? After her brother ended his call, Sangji hesitantly asked, "So, in your dorm, are you the only one without a girlfriend?" Sang Yang, feeling attacked, defensively asked, "What do you even mean? What kind of image do you have of me in your head? With a face like mine, your brother is obviously very popular." But Sangji, completely serious, said, "Listen to me, bro. You should really consider getting some plastic surgery." That really set Sang Yang off. Pinching her chubby cheeks, he threatened, "You little brat, are you asking for a beating? Remember that guy I brought home last time?" Sangji, wincing, pulled away and replied, "Yeah, what about him?" Sang Yang, getting impatient, said, "Well, that guy said you and I look really alike." Sangji froze, ignoring her brother's tugging on her face like it was made of rubber. After a long pause, she rubbed her sore cheeks and complained, "What did I ever do to that guy? Why would he insult me like that?" Sang Yang was confused and asked, "What are you even trying to say?" Without hesitation, Sangji fired back, "I'm saying, what did I ever do to him? Why else would he take a roundabout way of calling me ugly? Saying I look like you is basically saying I'm ugly too." Determined to prove his charm in front of his sister, Sang Yang started boasting. "You know why no one in our dorm has a girlfriend? It's because they've all turned gay for me. They're lined up, waiting to ask me out. Too bad for them, though, your bro is 100% straight, so they've got no chance. Sang-ji wasn't even listening at this point. She just focused on one thing: no girlfriend means he's single. Her disappointment from earlier vanished, replaced by a sweet feeling. Wow, these strawberries really are in season. Later at dinner, Sang Yang asked their dad for the car. I'll need it after exams since I have to move all my stuff to the main campus. Their mom chimed in, isn't the main campus right next to Sang-ji's school? Perfect, you can pick her up after. Both siblings groaned in protest. Sang Yang said, who goes to college and still has to pick up their little sister? Sang-ji was just as quick to reject the idea, yeah, no way. I don't want him picking me up. Sang Yang's status in the family was really low. Their parents kept piling food onto Sang-ji's plate, while complaining about how Sang Yang, as the older brother, didn't know how to properly protect his little sister and was always picking on her. Meanwhile, Sang-ji's mind wandered. Her brother was moving dorms and helping his roommates bring their stuff too. That guy would probably be there too, right? She suddenly turned to Sang Yang, all serious, and said, hey bro, I'll help you move your stuff. Sang Yang was so shocked he nearly spat out his food. He looked at her suspiciously, you're not planning to mess with me again, are you? Just chill out, he said, only to have their dad smack him. How can you talk to your sister like that? She's being so considerate, offering to help you, and you're doubting her intentions. She wants to go, so let her. Sang Yang tried to explain that the stuff was too heavy, and he didn't want her to get hurt, but their dad got even angrier. Then why don't you just watch over her? When the day came to move, Sang-ji finished school and headed over to her brother's neighboring campus. She called Sang Yang, saying, I'm already at the gate. Sang Yang couldn't believe it. No way, you actually came to help me move. He added, well, I'm kinda busy right now. Boys' dorm, building 9, room 525. You'll have to find your way here. Left with no choice, Sang-ji started wandering around the Qingda campus. Out of the corner of her eye, she spotted a familiar car. It was their dad's, packed full of stuff. But it was the plush toy on top that caught her attention. She picked up the fox plushie and couldn't help but roast it in her head. Of course this is Sang Yang's, it's just as ugly as his taste. His eye for things is truly unique. As she was messing with the toy, she suddenly felt the sunlight get blocked by something. She instinctively turned her head and came face to face with a familiar, handsome face. Du and Jiashu teased her, where'd this little thief come from? Stealing my stuff, huh? Or maybe you've got your sights set on your big brother? His smile was so bright, it felt like it pierced right through her heart. Sang-ji's face turned beet red, and her heart started pounding so loud that to cover it up, she quickly shoved the plushie to him. I didn't know this was yours. I'm just here to help my brother move his stuff and see if there's anything light enough for me to carry. If I'd known it was yours, I wouldn't have touched it. Du and Jiashu pretended to look hurt. Wow, so heartless. You're saying you won't carry it just because it's mine? Have you already forgotten how much I've helped you? Sang-ji turned her head, huffing. Well, you're the one who called me a thief earlier. Serves you right for making me mad. Seeing her pout, Du and Jiashu laughed. All right, I was just kidding. Don't be upset. How about this, I'll give you the plushie as a peace offering? With her round cheeks puffed up in frustration, Sang-ji grabbed the plushie from his hand, making a face. Why'd you even buy something so ugly? Du and Jiashu looked at the toy curiously. Ugly? I don't think it's that bad. I didn't even buy it. But I can't remember how I got it either, it's been a while. Sang-ji, now serious, said, well, if you didn't buy it, then someone else must have given it to you. In that case, I don't want it. It probably means something to them. She handed the plushie back to him, and Du and Jiashu smiled, amused by how serious she was. Without saying much, he took the toy and habitually patted her head. Come on, let's go upstairs. As they climbed the stairs, he kindly asked, is your backpack heavy? Want me to carry it for you? We're on the 5th floor, you know. Sanji huffed, annoyed. I'm already 13, not a little kid anymore. What's the big deal about the 5th floor? Are you gonna carry me up too? Du and Jiaxu turned around and gave her a playful once-over, looking her up and down, left to right, before breaking into a teasing smile. Sanji stared at him, confused. What are you doing? Du and Jiaxu said seriously, well, if you want your big brother to carry you, I guess it's not impossible. Sanji froze, her face turning red. After a moment, she snapped back to reality, stomping up the stairs. In your dreams. I'm definitely not letting you carry me. Du and Jiaxu chuckled softly. Okay, it's all my wishful thinking. When they got to the dorm door, Sanji hesitated a little. It was Sanji's first time visiting a boys' dorm, and maybe because they had just moved in, it wasn't the smelly, chaotic mess she had imagined, no flying socks or underwear in sight. She cautiously peeked her head in and saw her older brother, who had claimed he was too busy to pick her up, casually playing on his phone. He barely glanced up when he saw her. Annoyed, she muttered, so this is why you didn't come get me? Sangyang didn't seem to care. Well, you found your way here just fine, didn't you? Besides, you're not a little kid anymore. From the top bunk, Qinfei, round and funny-looking but clearly the kind of person with a good sense of humor, popped her head out. He looked at Sanji curiously. So, you're Sangyan's little sister, huh? Chen Junwen, who was hanging up clothes outside, came back in and exclaimed, whoa, this little sister is so charming. Sangyang, annoyed, tossed his cup at Chen Junwen. Watch your mouth. Chen Junwen, caught off guard, barely caught it and shot back, you're one to talk. You curse all the time. Realizing he had slipped up, he quickly apologized, sorry. Little sister, don't copy your brother's bad habits. Just then, Qinfei spotted Du and Jiaxu walking in. Hey, Jiaxu, wanna grab hot pot with us tonight? Du and Jiaxu thought for a second. Tonight? I've got something going on, so I'll pass. You guys go without me. Qinfei, excited, teased, what could you possibly have going on? A date? No way, man. We're all in this together. You can't leave us hanging like that. If you wanna find a girlfriend, you've gotta help me find one first. Chen Junwen jumped in. Yeah, no ditching us. If anyone's getting a girlfriend first, it's gonna be me. Sanji, who had been listening to their banter with a serious expression, finally spoke up. Wait a minute. Aren't you guys all supposed to be chasing after my brother? At her words, Sangyan's phone slipped right out of his hands, and the room went dead silent. Sangyang wished the ground would just swallow him whole, and his ears turned bright red. You idiot, Sanji. How could you spill that in front of everyone? He muttered, embarrassed. Qinfei, one of the roommates, stared at Sangyang, sizing him up. Well, I guess you are kinda good looking, though, he admitted after a moment. Annoyed, Sangyang waved him off. Get lost. You're so annoying. Meanwhile, Du and Jiaxu smiled and said, all right, I've got something to do, so I'm heading out. You guys have fun. Before leaving, he ruffled Sanji's hair and added, oh, and if you want the plushie, go ahead and take it with you. Sanji nodded obediently, watching him leave. That fluttery feeling in her chest quickly turned into a little pang of sadness. One of the roommates, overhearing what Du and Jiaxu said and seeing the plushie, teased, you're still keeping that thing? It's been sitting on your bed forever. Sanji looked at the toy again, and suddenly it didn't seem so ugly anymore. Curious, she asked, did Jiaxu Gid's girlfriend give it to him? Chen Junwen laughed. No way. That guy's so busy all the time, where would he find the time for a girlfriend? Qinfei agreed. Yeah, he's always running around like crazy. I think he won that plushie as a prize in some competition. Before they could keep talking, Sangyang cut in. All right, enough. Change out of your dirty clothes already, I'm starving. Chen Junwen's stomach grumbled too, and as he started pulling off his shirt right then and there, Sangyang quickly tossed a shirt at his face. Go change in the bathroom. Sangji was startled for a second, and Chen Junwen, realizing his mistake, laughed awkwardly. Oops, sorry. I forgot we've got a little sister here. With that, the three roommates squeezed into the bathroom to change, leaving Sangji alone in the room. Once they were gone, she quickly opened her backpack and tried to stuff the plushie inside. Her bag was already packed to the brim, so she had to pull out her books first before finally managing to squeeze it in. Later that night, around 10 p.m., what do you think a dorm full of college guys would be doing? Obviously, playing video games. Du and Jiaxu, fresh out of the shower and towel drying his hair, was about to head to his room when Sang Yang stopped him. Hey, Jiaxu, my sister's looking for you. She said she left something with you. Confused, Du and Jiaxu picked up the phone. Hey, kiddo, what did you leave with me? When Sangji heard her brother's voice on the phone, she got super excited. Bro, no, that's not it. I think I forgot my homework notebook. Can you check for me? Du and Jiaxu noticed a small, cute notebook buried under some things. Yep, I've got it. I'll have your brother bring it to you tomorrow. Sangji got a bit anxious. But I haven't written my journal for the week yet. Du and Jiaxu glanced over at Sang Yang, who was seriously focused on his game. With a teasing tone, he said, Kiddo, you're not trying to get me to do your homework for you, are you? Maybe ask your brother instead. Sangji complained, as if he'd ever help me. Du and Jiaxu chuckled gently. Then why do you think I'd help you write it? There was a long pause on the other end of the line before Sangji's teary voice returned. Come on, please. Just help me out this one time. My teacher is so mean, and if I don't get it done. Du and Jiaxu's smile grew wider. How about this, I'll bring it to you early tomorrow so you can write it at school. Sangji, crying even harder, protested, no way. Why not? Du and Jiaxu asked, curious. Because I can't wake up that early, she sobbed. Du and Jiaxu was speechless. How could she be so bold about not being able to get up on time? He couldn't help but give her a bit of a lecture. This is your responsibility, your task to complete. If you don't finish, you should be honest with your teacher and apologize, not ask someone else to do it for you. That's lying, and good kids don't lie. Du and Jiaxu really sounded like an older brother, guiding Sangji to handle things the right way. Be good, and meet me at the station at 6:30 tomorrow. I'll sit with you while you finish your homework, okay? Sangji obediently agreed. Du and Jiaxu gently reminded her, all right, no more crying. Think about what you're going to write, get some sleep, and it'll be easier to finish tomorrow. Sangji calmed down a bit, mumbling, good brother, but can you not tell my brother about this? Du and Jiaxu found the sibling dynamic a little odd. Why would she be so scared to tell her brother about something as small as forgetting homework? But, being the softie he was, he reassured her, all right, I won't say anything. Just get some sleep and wake up early tomorrow. I'll be waiting for you. After hanging up, feeling a bit bored, he absent-mindedly flipped open the weekly journal notebook. What was written inside caught his attention. June 24, 2009, Wednesday, cloudy. The weather today wasn't great. The sky was all gloomy, like it was going to rain. On my way home, I passed by some bushes and suddenly saw a stray black dog. As soon as I looked at its face, my mood turned as dark as the sky. It reminded me of my brother. The dog looked so much like him, as if it was his twin. Honestly, it felt like it could be my brother's son. Du and Jiaxu froze for a moment, then suddenly burst out laughing. Sang Yang, sitting nearby, gave him a confused look, thinking, what's wrong with this guy? Is he crazy or something? The next morning, Sangji set her alarm for 6 a.m. It rang and rang, irritating her so much that she almost grabbed something to throw at it. But as soon as she noticed Du and Jiaxu's stuffed animal, she immediately changed her mind and clutching it instead. Her hair was a mess, and she was still half asleep, but that gentle voice from last night echoed in her head, I'll be waiting for you at the station, okay? I'll sit with you while you finish your homework. In a flash, she jumped up and rushed to get ready. Sangji hurried to the station, panting from the sprint, only to find that no one was there. The place was completely empty. She felt a weird sense of disappointment. Suddenly, her phone buzzed in her bag. She picked it up, still a little frustrated. On the other end was that familiar, gentle voice, "Hey, kiddo, are you awake yet?" Sanji huffed, I'm already at the station." "Hey, if you're late again, your future girlfriend's going to look super weird, like some kind of cartoon character," Sanji teased, just as she felt something land on her shoulder. Freaked out, she turned around, only to see Du and Jiashu's mischievous smile.